Good afternoon. We're here at the Otoe Tribal Complex. My name is Chris Hill. I work for the Tribal Historic Preservation Office, and we're here to discuss a few things that are important to the Otoe-Missouria people. And today we have Melea Hoffman. She's the Tribal Historic Preservation researcher for the Otoe-Missouria. She is from Red Rock, Oklahoma. Her name is Melea Hoffman. She comes from the Atkins and Carson family. She also went to the University of Oklahoma and got a degree in anthropology. So at this time, I know she has a topic of boarding schools today, and I know she's going to talk about several different things that deals with boarding schools, and also coming back to what it means to the Otoe-Missouria people. I'm going to turn the time over to Melea Hoffman at this time.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate that, and thank you for that fine introduction. I wanted to talk about boarding schools because recently it's been in the news because in Canada we've been having some really disturbing numbers coming from our different First Nations people, as the boarding schools in Canada have been finding the unmarked graves in the different schools. Like in Kamloops, they found 215 unmarked graves at their boarding schools, and in Maraval, 715 unmarked graves. Brandon was 104, Cranbrook was 182, and Cooper Isle was 160. That is unforgivable numbers of schools where our children have been forgotten, and there are just thousands of our people who've been just laying there, and we don't know who, we don't know why, and there have been hundreds of years of abuse and physical, sexual, mental abuse to our people. And if this had been any other people, there would be just huge uproars. But with our people, there's been nothing. And now in the United States, we've had just large numbers of our own boarding schools, and we haven't had the investigations here. Secretary Deb Haaland has made a move to have us start investigating in the United States, and I think that that is a very good thing for us here. This affects us as Otoe people, as we have had our own boarding school on the Otoe Reservation here in Oklahoma that was active from 1881 to 1918. It burned down, I believe, twice, and it was here and active on the reservation. We also had a boarding school in Nebraska run by a Baptist preacher named Moses Merrill. It wasn't active as long. I believe he died of lung disease at one point, but I know that there were several students that died there in his care and were treated fairly badly. But the abuse, in the forced boarding schools after 1860, when it became mandatory for Native students to be taken out of their homes because they wanted to take away our culture, because they wanted us to live like white people, because they wanted us to forget our language, and we were beaten, our hair was cut, we were forced to wear white people's clothes, we were forced to learn to act and talk and be subservient, and we were taught we weren't taught to act like a upper class white person, or to say. We were taught to do very menial jobs and sent out to do menial work that nobody else wanted to do, and we were loaned out just because we were thought of as nothing. And we were forced into these things like the Carlisle Indian School, what was run by Richard Pratt, I believe. And his words were, "Kill the Indian, save the man," because he wanted to destroy what we were. He wanted to destroy our culture. He wanted to destroy everything about the native people, and he succeeded, because I don't know how many times I've heard elders say that they wouldn't teach their children their language because they were beaten for it. They were afraid to teach their children their language because they were taught that it was bad. They were roomed with other, they were never roomed with children who spoke their own language. They were roomed with other children from other tribes, so they couldn't. And if they went against it, they were beaten so badly that they couldn't move sometimes. And this all was wrong, and some of them died of tuberculosis, some of them died of pneumonia, they died far from home, there wasn't the funds to send them home to their families, and they were buried in unmarked graves. And their families never knew, they were never reunited, and they're lost. And so many of us know that without having the proper rites and the proper ceremonies, sometimes we feel like our spirits can't go home. And so we have taken the time to learn ground penetrating radar, and I think that sometimes it would feel good for us to go and participate, maybe like in Shalako even. We know of at least 8 unmarked graves where the people aren't known, and they don't know who they are and what happened to these people. And we'd like to participate and know that we can help bring our family home. I think that would be really important.
Yes, that's amazing, that you're able to have those numbers. And, I know you talked about, how this was, not just here, in Oklahoma, or, it was all out Indian country. These boarding schools, some are no longer around and some are still standing, but the story's still true at each and every one of these boarding schools. And I think that's something that, we as Indian folks should not forget, because today, many of the great tribes of today, there's not one tribe out there that hasn't had that effect, like you said, to kill the Indian and save the man, philosophy. With that being said, a lot of tribes, there's countless of them have lost language, lost songs, lost rituals, lost ceremonies, lost many things, and it's due to this boarding school mentality. And so I'm glad you took this opportunity to kind of educate not only them about other nations, but how it affects the Otoe-Missouria people. And again, I just wanted to thank you for that. Oh.